This is the second New Earth Order prediction. Parents are going to assist children with their spiritual awakening and spiritual ascension. You might think I'm living in the future, but I'm actually living in the present moment, having glimpse into the future thanks to my higher self. Hi, I'm Stella, Yann, founder and chief storyteller at NEO, which stands for the New Earth Order. When I first received the vision for the New Earth Order, it arrived with a couple of keywords, and I'm so glad that I wrote them down because today we are having actual predictions, actual conversations with change makers from all around the world. And we are actively co creating the new Earth. This is more than a vision. This is going to be the reality for those of us that truly believe that we can do things in a different way, in a better way, in a more connected way, that it's time for us to return back to our souls so that we can channel onto earth what our souls have always meant to bring onto earth. This is the time to think about being of service to humanity, and we're actively doing it at NEO and beyond. Parents supporting the awakening movement and supporting their children in embracing more of their spiritual self and adopting more spiritual practices is going to help us eradicate narcissism from society. Narcissism is prevalent in our culture, and parents have a role to play in supporting it, sustaining it, or breaking it, helping us break the cycles for good. Parents have a pivotal role to play in removing narcissistic patterns from our society by supporting their children. Not only by supporting themselves, but also by supporting children to continue to be the future of Earth. Remember the saying that children are the future? Well, the agenda attached to narcissism is that actually children aren't the future. This is why we have so much narcissism because the ego within oneself wanted to make the bold declaration, you are not the future of me, I am. But when parents embraced that notion of the ego, that belief of the ego, they became the oppressors of the children. They became the ones that enslaved the souls of their children. And oftentimes, we've seen parents actually siphon the spiritual energy, the creative energy of their children, completely destroy it, completely kill it within an entire generation because of their inability to rise above their own ego. So when parents are ready to face themselves, face their shadow self, and face their ego that is perpetuating the cycles of narcissism, they will be able to break free and support their children in breaking free as well. Because if you have two parents that are narcissistic, their child will also have some of the narcissistic programming in them, thanks to the gene code, the DNA, but they also have their own authentic blueprint, just like any other human on earth. So when parents are able to have open conversations with their children, when they're able to validate their emotions, to hold space for their emotions, and to connect with them heart to heart, mind to mind, body to body, without any resistance, without any excuses, actually spending meaningful quality time with one another, we're going to see our souls interacting with each other in an open space, in an open way that we haven't seen before. We're going to see the rise in telepathy. We're going to see the rise in intuitive gifts returning within the new generations, but also within the multi generational living. We're going to hear stories from families that have multiple generations and within the same roof, communicating with one another using different modalities that are traditionally attached to supernatural movies. The intuitive gifts that come with ascension, with awakening to one's spiritual nature, are now going to be part of family structures. So you're going to see grandparents and grandchildren communicating using clairvoyance and clairaudience. Parents and their children communicating using clairsentience, claircognizance, and of course, telepathy. This is going to increase the bonding between family members, but also when they're welcoming a brand new child, whether that's the child of the parents or the relative to the firstborn daughter or son, they're going to welcome the new souls using their spiritual gifts in a way where they don't suppress the gifts of the newcomer, which is often the experience we've had. I personally had that experience where I had to suffocate my gifts in order for me to belong or not go crazy because the people around me did not have their gifts activated. So it felt like I was speaking to an empty desert and I was thirsty for some connection. And so I had to dumb myself down, dim my own light in order for me to ride on the back of the camel that's going to take me to the village where the people were because they were too scared. They were too scared to explore outside of the village. Eradicating narcissism from our culture is a multi layered quest. Parents have a key role to play, education has a key role to play, media representation has a key role to play. This will probably go into another video, but media representation has normalized a lot of the toxic cycles that are part of our culture, and that is simply unacceptable going forward. As we're connecting to our spiritual self, to our higher self, as we're remembering modalities for being and for connecting with one another, we're starting to see the illusions, the spells, the toxic dynamics, the dysfunctional habits of our society. And we can no longer operate in the same way. We don't want to. And as part of this rise of the awakening of our consciousness being grounded onto us, as we're embodying more of our higher self and our true nature, we're naturally going to bring back the ways of our ancestors who lived in communities. I'm not saying let's go back to the village because I don't believe that is the future. I believe the future has us in multiple communities, the same way that younger generations are going to communicate with older generations, and together they're going to bring this alchemy of ideas and beliefs and imagination to create something new. That was the way of our ancestors. Unity. No longer the older generations are going to break the spirit of the younger generations, or the younger generations attempt to completely eradicate the ways of their elders, but rather they're going to learn how to override their ego and lead from their soul with an open heart and an open mind. So there is space for connection.